Hello, my lovely friends. How are you? I am going to tag a few people and just do a quick little note tonight because I just want to tell you I posted today that I'm going to have a hearing up in Sixth Circuit Court, and you need to understand exactly what this is, okay? Why this is so important, and how hard I've worked to get here and how much suffering a family has done to even get to this point. And I know I never give you any warning when I'm coming on, so we're just hit and miss here. If I reach you, great. Okay, if you get this and you get on, just go ahead and send it and share it to a few people if you don't mind. You know, Facebook decides who pops up on my line as far as who I invite, so I never quite know. So I am sorry if I miss you sometime. Lori. Yeah, Lori. This is important. I hope you come on because I couldn't tag you in my post today. Okay, hey. So it is January the 23rd. Hey, Jessica. And we never really seem to have anything to be happy about or to sort of congratulate ourselves about, or at least to look forward to. So I wanted to explain to you that a very important thing is going to be happening, and I want to shout out to all the Ohio people because we have an opportunity to get together. So I got in the mail today, I got in the email today a notice from the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. Okay, so this is federal court. It's not state court. It is the circuit court, so it's for our 6th Circuit. So Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. We're 6th Circuit Court. And several reasons that this is very important. First of all, this is an appeal out of federal court, and when you go to federal circuit court, they don't have to let you do a hearing, okay? It is totally at their decision and their option whether or not they think your case deserves enough attention to be able to let you come and argue, okay? So first of all, just the fact that they let us have a hearing is very important. This is an ADA case. Now, for those of you who've been around for a while, you will know, I'm so sorry, that in 2015, the Department of Justice came out with an opinion. It's called the Sarah Gordon opinion out of Massachusetts. We have Lori Fortin up there in Massachusetts. She's very familiar with it. And what it said, the case was where DCS took a baby from a young mom who had some mental health disabilities. And they put the baby in foster care. The baby got injured in foster care. And the mom's mom, so the paternal grandmother, went to the agency and said, look, I will take the child and I will help my daughter raise the child. So you can give guardianship to me and I'll take care of my daughter and her child, right? Very reasonable, very family thing to do. And I know other of you out there, I know Debbie Gavel, this is a very similar thing that she faced in her case. Whitney, I know Whitney Manning, this is the same thing that she faced. And the agency wouldn't let the maternal grandmother come in and help her daughter and her baby. So somebody was able to get the Department of Justice to do a study or to come in and do an investigation. And in February 2015, the Department of Justice issued a memorandum that said that they had violated ADA. ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act. And they said that if a parent has a disability, the agency must consider reasonable accommodations, which includes looking at the support that they have from family members. So that very same year in 2015, We had a case in Tennessee, and you know who you are, that they had not allowed this father to parent his child because he had a mild disability, but he was unable to work full-time and have a full-time job and get a home and things like that. So he had family members come in and say that they would help and that they would take custody of the child, and then they would help him parent a child so that the child could have a relationship with their father. Tennessee DCS said no. I got in the case and I said, you got to apply ADA. The trial court said no. The Court of Appeals said no. The Supreme Court refused to take it, and they just ignored the ADA rights. And so what I did, and of course they screwed the whole case up. So what I did is after this was, well, actually while it was pending, I went to federal court and I filed in federal court for an ADA violation because ADA is a federal law. And if you've heard us chatter about federal lawsuits, you know that whenever you go in a federal lawsuit, you have to look at all the immunity issues. Well, the state does not have immunity when they violate the ADA and it affects your constitutional rights. So, in other words, ADA can include things like, they didn't make the sidewalk safe for a wheelchair. Well, that is not a constitutional right. So they would not have a liability. The state would not have financial liability if they had violated ADA under something like that. It's called, access, I think is what they call it. However, when ADA affects a constitutional right, then you can get damages against the state and ask for damages. And so, I don't know, we asked for $1 million or something because I'm not even sure that's enough. I don't even know if I asked for a dollar amount, but lots of money. So we, and it's a jury trial. And so we got it all together. We went to federal court and the federal court dismissed it. So we haven't had a trial. So the federal court dismissed it, saying that the father had not, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but something about they had no ability to do reasonable accommodations or something stupid. It's a new issue. There's no cases directly on point. So I appealed it to the Sixth Circuit because this has not been decided. And as I was putting together my appeal, I had to look at, agency cases under ADA is Title II. So I had to look at Title I and Title III cases, which involves primarily like employment cases and some other, accommodations, I don't know how to say it, housing and stuff is one of them. Well, under employment, under ADA, there's a lot of case law, and basically what it says under the employment cases is that if somebody gives you notice that they have a disability, you don't have to say I have a disability. If there's just some type of disability that you put them on notice of, that the state has to do a independent assessment, and they have to sit down and they have to talk about what your limitations are, how you need to be accommodated so that you can properly receive the services of the agency. Okay, y'all following all this? It's kind of technical, but it's really, really, really important. Now, I want you to also know that back in 2015, when I got the ADA policy for the Department of Children's Services, the only ADA policy they had was for employees who work for them. So that was the only opportunity you had to make an ADA complaint, was if you were an employee. And so they then changed it. They just changed it finally, like last year. So it does include parents. However, they are still not doing a proper ADA notice to the parents when they get involved as far as their disabilities. So anyway, after saying all of that, now I want to tell you why this is so difficult, because I have put in hours and hours and hours and hours. I can't even tell you how many hours. I don't know. I think at some point I finally quit keeping track of it, because it's horrendous. The briefs I have to write, I've briefed the same case like 6 times. Very, very difficult, but this is a very, very, very important place for us. So I am very excited about this. It is March the 21st. It is in Cincinnati. Now, it's like at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it is open to the public if you happen to be in the area. So what I also wanted to tell you is that I have been, there's some people in Ohio. We've had some informal discussions about me coming up, getting together. This is a perfect opportunity to do it, and it's far enough out that we should get our heads together. I think the 21st is on a Thursday. I'm not sure. So I'm about 5 hours from Cincinnati, so I could either drive up Wednesday morning kind of early, and maybe we could do something Wednesday evening, or I'm just going to come up Wednesday afternoon, spend the night, be there Thursday morning for the court, and then do something Thursday afternoon, which would probably be better for me because I'll be a little anxious and, be trying to hyper prep to get ready to go to court. So it'd be better if we did something maybe that after I got out of court and that evening. So please, please, please think about it. If you're in Ohio, let's communicate and get together, something going on there. Something to go on and meet and, protest. Whatever we want to do. Sometimes we gather and we do educational stuff. Sometimes we march. Sometimes we protest. I think it's time to just start doing some serious protesting. I've got a couple big signs that I've had made. I may go ahead and order a couple more. I've got one that says stop separating American families. I've got one that says set our kids free, set our children free. So you can need to get our yellow vest and our signs and our bullhorns, which, by the way, I am getting. So I'll be showing you that soon. And we will get together. Just another note, this is one thing is pretty important, so I'm not going to junk it up with a lot of other stuff so that I can label this one Americans with Disabilities Act. I do want to say I have spent yesterday afternoon and this morning, reading some DCS files and DCS records. I'm pretty horrified at what was withheld from me and my client when the children were taken into custody. And this is a case that I'm gagged, and so right now I cannot tell you the details. However, I will tell you that it's pretty horrid. The children were pretty, neglected pretty severely. I would probably call it abuse as well in the foster home. Okay, another statistic, a child is taken from their home over some nonsense, bunch of lies in the reports and the records, didn't do what they were supposed to do, didn't follow their own policy, and then they get abused in foster care. Yep. So you'll be hearing more about that. Okay, I see a note, March in Tennessee. All right, so Angie, I think Lydia was the one who put together Tennessee last summer in June. And I think she's working on that again. I'm not real sure, but we will try to get that together. I had a really hard, the last part of 2018 was pretty stressful for me because I had like 8 briefs back to back. Like I had a deadline like every 10 days. And so I was really, really stressed out and hyper-focused and got behind, and then the holiday came, so I've spent January kind of catching up, getting some things on track. I did have another brief that was due today that I got filed, and it is I'm working on a medical kidnap case in federal court. So I don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, we don't have very good law to protect parents under medical kidnapping. It's pretty bad, as a matter of fact. So since I don't have a lot of law to support it, that it's a constitutional violation, we're going to have to stumble through that. In February, so the briefs that I did last fall were 6th Circuit, Tennessee Supreme Court, Tennessee Court of Appeals, et cetera, et cetera. So February the 6th in Tennessee, I'm in front of the Tennessee Supreme Court on a legal malpractice claim. And I just argued, I should have a couple opinions coming out pretty soon. 2 different ones, which are pretty important for family law, and I don't know what the court's going to do because I just heard today that the Tennessee Supreme Court did something really horrible, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. But I have two cases in the Court of Appeals that I should be getting opinions soon. One of them is what I would call the adoption fraud, which is out-of-state adoption. They're not even really agencies. They're like adoption scam people that are advertising to moms who get pregnant about, oh, they make it look so wonderful that, convince them that placing your child is the smartest and most wonderful thing you can ever do. And then they sweep into your state and have you sign fraudulent documents and sell your child and rip it away from you. And in this case, called for the mom to have a C-section when she'd never had a child before. I mean, that's pretty how horrible they are. So I sued the hospital, and which is really the most important thing, the hospital, because the hospital is the one who gave the baby away and had the mom sign these fake documents. And they are, of course, going crazy trying to defend this and just making up a bunch of junk about ICPC and what it means and what it doesn't mean. And I argued that in front of the Court of Appeals, and I was like, you better get this straight and get it right, because you cannot get this wrong. ICPC does not mean what they say it means. So be religious thing to see what they do, They don't like me telling them what to do. Imagine that. The other one is where I sued a court-appointed attorney because she failed to defend the parent when the state agency was trying to get certain requirements under a PERM plan that should not have been required. So, which caused the termination of parental rights. So that that'll be an interesting play out. That'll be really interesting because most court-appointed attorneys just don't do what they're supposed to do. We all know that. Everybody on here knows that because I'm always hearing people complain about it. All right, and so I just want to wrap up with, I posted, and I hope you saw the Tennessee Supreme Court today, or just yesterday or something, ruled, this is so horrible. If you didn't see this post, you need to read it. So this family had a 13-year-old daughter, and they had a person who was like, I think I read it right, that they were like staying in the house and they were doing some repairs on the house or something. And this weirdo, freak, pedophile person put a camera in the 13-year-old's bedroom, secret camera. And she got out of the shower and was dressing, and she saw the red flashing light, okay? And so she grabbed it, and she took it to her parents. And first he got charged with aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, and he got convicted of that, and the Court of Appeals upheld it, and they went to the Supreme Court. And the freaking Tennessee Supreme Court, you need to read that, because the female justice says, well, he was doing nothing more than capturing her on film in her day-to-day activities. Naked, in a towel, drying off, out of the shower, trying to get dressed. Right. And then another one of the Supreme Court justices said, well, there's no way that he could have really thought, or no way that he could have really expected when he put the camera in that room that it would have captured anything, right? That's kind of the stupid nonsense we're dealing with here, okay? That's it. That's as good as it gets, guys. This is why I'm like totally freaking out all the time. Horrible. With all this sexual abuse stuff going on and all over the place, it's just crazy. So anyway, all right, well, it is Wednesday evening, and I know this is odd for me to grab on here on a Wednesday, and I just had to share that with you because I'm pretty excited about the Sixth Circuit. I've been to the Sixth Circuit before, 2011, I think, and got the first Sixth Circuit opinion that said that social workers there was no social worker exemption for the Fourth Amendment, and they had to comply with the Fourth Amendment. So we are slowly but surely chipping away at some social worker stuff. I want to hammer them so bad because, even though the police are still not in as good a shape as they could be, because there's a lot of case law There's a lot of case law about law enforcement abuse, just not a lot of case law about social worker abuse. So when it comes to like lying on a search warrant or withholding evidence from a magistrate, I mean, police officers can be held that is a constitutional violation. Social workers have been skimming through this stuff for years, and I'm just about sick and tired of it. So anyway, all right, y'all. So love you so much. I see a few people have joined me, and I appreciate that. And Hermosa, Jessica, Linda, Lori, Angie, yeah, yep. And the rest of you that snuck on there, Jenny and Tony and Sherry and Mary and Lacey, and Trina, yeah, Jonna, yeah, Erica, thank you, Nancy, Miriam, Bobby, Missy, Misty, Angie, etc. Oops, no. Okay, all right, y'all. I'm going to sign off for now. And if you didn't see this from the beginning, watch it. It's really important. Please circulate it. I'm going to put a header on it that it is about good news about the Americans with Disabilities Act and parents. Okay? All right, so y'all have a good night. Love y'all. Bye-bye.